This week on TGC News, HK brings us something affordable, smarter every day, outdoes every gun channel ever, and Mossberg adds new Shockwaves. TacPack is an enthusiast subscription service that is focused on bringing you stuff you need straight to your door on a monthly basis. Every month is different, and you can be met with gun parts, accessories, cleaning gear, or even some bigger and cooler shenanigans. And because you're watching TGC, if you use the code TGC Knife, you'll get a free folding knife, TGC Tool, and you'll get a free pocket-sized multi-tool, and TGC Grip will get you a free AR grip. Only when you punch those in over at TacPack.com. Welcome back to another episode of TGC News, the only gun news show that covers things you actually care about. My name is Jon Patton. There's no doubt in my mind that H&K is still considered an expensive brand by a lot of folks. They've made good strides with the VP series of pistols as far as pricing goes over the last few years, but when you look at the MR556 and MR762 rifles with price tags of around $2,600 for the 556 and $3,600 for the 762, you start to remember the HK of yore. For a long time, they were properly earning that classic meme, HK, because you suck and we hate you. But as I said, they've been making strides to listen to the US consumer market, and they've just released two new guns moving farther in that direction. Say hello to the HK416 rifle and pistol, chambered in .22 long rifle. Now, before you let out a collective of disappointment, let me tell you why these matter. It's because the price of these is the same as the M&P 1522, which is one of the most popular 22s on the market, not being sold by Ruger. So $449 MSRP. What do you get for that? Well, to start, the guns are made by Umarex, and they have aluminum receivers, rails that have M-lock on 3 sides and a pick rail on top, a 16-inch barrel, that classic HK pistol grip and stock, 30-round mags with 10 and 20 rounders available, and a last round bolt hold open. The pistol has an 8.5-inch barrel and a cap on the rear. So essentially, it's a clone of the 416 that's actually affordable. Time will tell on the reliability of these guns because it's a 22 and that actually matters, but overall, I think there's some solid value, and if they do hold up and shoot well, there's some real competition for Smith & Wesson. On top of that, we will be trying these out because I am fortunate enough to have just received one of each of these to check out. Be sure to follow us on Instagram. There's a link in the description to see the latest on that. Now, what do you guys think? Do you care about rimfire guns? Would you go out and buy one of these new HKs? Sound off below and let me know what you think. I just shot a rimfire match, so I'm all kind of pumped up on them right now, and I'm really hoping you guys are going to enjoy them as much as I hope I do. Next up this week is something a little different.
And now for something completely different.
Some of you may be aware of the side of me that's an absolute nerd. To me, science is oftentimes more beautiful than art because the world we live in is just incredible in so many ways. The same could be said about firearms. I mean, for God's sakes, the way an AR-15 kind of fits together and all the intricate pieces that we take for granted, that came out of somebody's head, and it's now the standard for how thousands of people make their living. Think about that for a second. The same could be said for suppressors. The idea of slowing down and cooling and controlling gases that exit the muzzle of a firearm is almost 100 years old, yet we are still just kind of scratching the surface and trying to understand the physics taking place in and around them. Not only do manufacturers have to understand them to be able to make better ones, but it's also imperative that consumers understand what they're buying and why it works. However, we turned a page on that on October 31st and then again on November 30th. Destin Sandlin of the YouTube channel Smarter Every Day published something incredible. It is the most beautiful visual representation of suppressor sound shockwaves that I've ever seen. Using a technique called Schlieren imaging, he was able to capture the shockwaves coming off of a bullet and explained how the angle of that shockwave can be used to determine the speed of the projectile. It's called a Mach angle. Then he showed that even when a projectile is subsonic, there are still areas of supersonic turbulence around them. It's pretty amazing stuff, really. And that was in the first video. In the suppressor video, he showed this demonstration of the muzzle blast between a suppressed and unsuppressed rifle. The unsuppressed rifle has this huge initial blast, and then it's just gases exiting the muzzle. Not really that surprising, but when you look at the gun with the suppressor, you see something incredible. Look at those mini shockwaves exiting the can and kind of bouncing all over the place. Not only is this a stunning way to see what's taking place, but it's happening over a much longer period of time, which is exactly what suppressors are known to do, but we've never seen before, especially not in high-speed video like this. In a single clip, I now understand what is taking place inside a suppressor better than I ever have before. I'm not gonna stand here and try to explain the entire thing to you because Destin does a fantastic job of that, and you should seriously go subscribe to his channel because holy crap, it's amazing. But I promise that these two videos I'm referencing will change the way you look at guns and hopefully science in general. And rounding us out this week, CMMG has listened to me. They paid attention to what I had to say.
Zion, hear me!
And everybody else that said their naming convention for their guns was super confusing. So instead of having the X1 BR256 dogleg left with a sand trap chambered in 224 disappointment, they now have three distinct lines. The Banshee, which will be their pistols and SBRs. The Resolute, which will sort of be their mid-sizes like carbines and stuff, the 16-inchers and similar. And then there's the Endeavor, which will be your DMR type rifles. Inside those lines will be a 100, 200, and 300 series, which is basically a differentiator between price points and features. 100 being basic and 300 being the fanciest. I've talked plenty of times about this sort of thing with a whole bunch of different companies, and it's great to see a brand actively listening to their customers. And because reasons, Mossberg released 3 new versions of the Shockwave. First, the Nightstick, which is essentially just the wood furniture version, and that will be going for an MSRP of $539 and includes a leather strap on the forend in place of nylon. Ooh, fancy. And then there's the SPX, which is dripping in heat shields for when you somehow manage to keep the gun hot between shooting 6 rounds and then having to load 6 rounds. Also, the barrel has teeth for when you want to breach or something. That one is going for an MSRP of $560. And last but not least, the Shock and Saw, sort of adapted version of the chainsaw that came out a few years back. It's just a Shockwave with a chainsaw style handle on top of the foregrip. I think they could have made this model better by calling it the Threeper and covering it in Punisher skull stickers. This one also comes with barrel teeth for no apparent reason. That has an MSRP again of $560. Neomag offers a slick solution to discreetly carrying a spare magazine securely in your pocket. Available in small, medium, and large to hold anything from 380 to 10 mil. Also now available are the extended clip versions, which allow you to carry deeper in your pocket or carry your spare mag with an extension. Utilizing strong neodymium magnets, a steel backer, and titanium clips, these things are built to last. To get 10% off your order over at theneomag.com, use the code TGC2018. It's time for More Friendly Fire, the segment where I answer your questions from all over social media. And guys, it's the holiday season, and we've turned up that dial for our weekly prize.
Turn it on and rip the knob off.
Pew Pew Tactical is once again sponsoring the Question of the Week prize pack. For each week in December, we will be giving away a 16-inch 5.56 Faxton barrel and arrow precision offer with parts installed, and of course, the Pew Pew Tactical pistol case and swag pack. That's freaking cool, and I'm jealous that I don't get to win this. Now, this week's questions are coming from Facebook. Our first question is from Thomas Peters, and he says, are Adam, Izzy, and you the only members of the TGC team? Who else is involved and what do they do?
Who is your daddy and what does he do?
Let me kind of break it down for you guys. As of right now, there are 6 people working either full-time or part-time on TGC. That's kind of weird to say out loud. Izzy is our editor, and he actually works remotely from Minnesota. He kind of has his hands full these days trying to keep up with the massive flow of content we're trying to put out every week. Then you guys probably know Adam as host of The Legal Brief. He's also doing hosting duties on the podcast. Then we also have Genevieve, who you guys first saw at SHOT this past year. We're slowly getting her into more and more videos as time allows. Then there's also Ben, who helps me on the Proving Ground and has sort of become, whether he likes to admit it or not, a part-time armorer for TGC. And then we also have another person who you guys will meet later that's working on a new project that I have kind of hinted at here and there. And of course, I host this show, TGC News. I also host The Proving Ground, The Fight, the podcast, and whatever else content I decide to make a random video for. I also handle all the business aspects of TGC, like sales of advertising and promotions, content scheduling and planning, product and supply procurement, aka I get guns and ammo, social media, accounting, shipping and receiving, janitorial duties, and on top of that, I sometimes get to shoot a gun. That was a long answer, but there's a lot going on here. And if you guys want me to go like deeper on this, let me know, and I could do a whole video on how TGC works from top to bottom. Thanks for that question, by the way. And because that one was long, I am skipping right to our question of the week, and winner of the Pew Pew Tactical Prize Pack, link in the description for them. That person is Kyle Higgins, and he says, do you think the conglomerate gun industry brands like Vista and Freedom Group are doing a good job keeping up with consumer demands, or are they falling behind the smaller companies? Great question. I think that really depends on perspective. I think as far as true supply and demand of product goes, they're doing a decent job. However, when you look at products and innovation, there's some stuff that the big brands are getting crushed on. For instance, why doesn't Vista Outdoor have a handgun for sale right now? And why doesn't Freedom Group make a gun that anyone actually wants to buy right now? Sure, they're selling product based on their names alone, but are these Freedom Group products the best bang for the consumer dollar? I don't think so. However, this is almost always the case. These big brands are not nimble. They are not built for speed. That's why smaller brands look to innovate, because they have to do that to compete. It's the nature of big brand versus small brand, volume versus innovation. Outstanding question. Be sure to get me your info so I can get you those prizes. My friendly fire question to you guys this week: what is the most underrated cartridge around? Sound off in the comments and let me know your thoughts on that. And hey, if you want me to answer your friendly fire question right here on the show, send it to me over on theguncollective.com. And that is it for this week's show, guys. If you disliked this video and you thought it sucked, hit that button. If you liked it, hit this button, get subscribed, and consider supporting us via the links in the video description below. We have an Amazon affiliate store, so when you're purchasing Christmas gifts, you could help us by getting us a little kickback. You can go check out the link to purchase cool shirts just like this one, and of course, social media links for every platform out there. And as always, thank you all for watching. We'll see you soon. The shirts worn in today's video on The Gun Collective have been provided by Patriot Patch. Closed captions have also been brought to you by Patriot Patch Company. Be sure to click the link in the video description to check out all of their great products, including their cleaning mats.